they do convince people. It's all suggestibility, and it's kind of hypnotic, and you're sitting there for hours and hours, and they have you hooked up to this machine, which you believe allows them to somewhat read your mind.
Right.
And they keep asking you the same question over and over and over, and in the end, you just kind of come up with an answer.
Right.
You're just hypnotized by that point.
So obviously, this Tom Cruise thing, big land for them, because he is going to be the one that helps spread the story and to make it romantic and appealing to be a member of Scientology.
Right, but I don't think he's actually accomplishing that.
No, he seems to be going in the other direction.
Yeah, right.
And
I mean, I hope he keeps, promoting it in the way he's doing, because I would think that the average person seeing his antics doesn't really think
it almost seems like he's bought in, doesn't it?
I think he very much has. I mean, he is at these upper levels. I think he's like OT5, where he knows all about these space aliens, and he's working on a daily basis to rid himself of them. So I don't know if Katie Holmes knows about that, but he certainly does. So
oh, my God, the guy's got to be nuts.
He's just on a massive ego trip where he just really thinks, they treat him like royalty.
Right.
And he thinks he's all-powerful. He thinks,
that
video that was leaked of him, he thinks, we are the authorities on, he just is on an ego trip.
Well, and it was funny how he was going after, who did he go after?
Matt Lauer?
No, yeah.
Brooke Shields?
Brooke Shields.
Brooke Shields,
Matt Lauer.
About being interviewed by Matt Lauer. And, he knows. He was like a doctor. He had all of the education, all of the knowledge.
It's funny now that...
Well, I find that very frustrating when they do that. I mean, Brooke Shields was suffering from postpartum depression, which is very serious. And going back to that story of that woman whose father killed himself, when he went in there after, being convinced he was, a mole sent him by psychiatry to destroy them, and he was so distraught, and he said he was suicidal, they told him he needed to take B12 vitamins. I mean, it's beyond ridiculous.
Yeah.
If it wasn't so tragic, it would be pretty funny.
Well, I think one of the things that Tom Cruise has done for them is almost made Scientology look not tragic, but foolish.
Yeah.
And that, from what I'm hearing from you, that actually is not where we should be going.
No, I mean, there's absolutely a lot of abuses that go on.
And prior to talking to you, I never had the only knowledge we had is they believe in space aliens,
right.
This whole thing. I never knew Scientology to be dangerous,
and that's what I thought was very interesting.
But you're painting a completely different, and that's really what Tom Cruise has done. Is he's taken the for them, he's taken the danger pressure away. No, nobody's even thinking about that. They think it's a bunch of quacks, maybe, or something.
Right.
But you're saying you're painting a different
they're kind
picture.
of a strange combination of extremely stupid and dangerous. And part of a lot of times they're dangerous because they're so stupid, like telling this guy he should take B12 vitamins when he was suicidal. And I mean, there was a woman named Lisa McPherson, and that's when I first spoke out, because I found out my mom had been involved in this, but she was held against her will. And they were putting her through something called the introspection rundown, where no one would speak to her, and they held her in a room, and she ended up dying of dehydration, and there was a lawsuit, and that was the same thing. They thought that they could cure her,
right?
But
the danger.
But what they did was they killed her, and I don't think they set out to kill her. I don't think that was their intention. But
now
between the extreme stupidity and this kind of idea that they're the authorities on mental health when they really have no clue, it's a very dangerous combination.
Now, it would be probably disrespectful, but I'm thinking it. And I'm wondering where you are and what you're thinking. Obviously, your dad helped you out. It sounds like your mom didn't. Your mom sounds, I don't want to say nuts, but...
delusion?
Don't worry, I have a sense of humor about
Okay, so tell me, where are you on this? Do you talk to your mom? Do you think
my mom stopped talking to me 8 years ago. The first time I spoke out, she was made to disconnect from
like the Amish.
She'll never speak to me again unless she leaves Scientology. Same thing with my brother, my grandma, and my daughter's father, my ex-husband.
How did your mother fall into this? I mean,
her mother was in it. I'm like a third generation.
Holy cow, really?
Her mother was kind of dabbled in it. We lived in England, and my mom kind of grew up interested in it and kind of being in it for a while and then taking a break. And then when I was 7 years old, her father died, and with the money he left her, she decided she was going to go to Scientology's organization in Florida, which is their kind of high-level organization, and use the money to pay for some services that she thought would maybe help her get over the grief of death or something. And at that time, she was recruited to join this thing called the Sea Organization, and then we all moved to the States under false pretenses, being told we were going to, that they were going to send us kids to private schools.
Right.
And have a 2-bedroom condo by the beach and all these lies. When we got there, it was 5 of us in a motel room. And my dad immediately said, I want to go back to England and take the kids back. And my mom was had done a total 180 in terms of her personality. And she just said, you can go back, but I'm keeping the kids, and, you have to fight me for them. And we're here, and we have to clear the planet. That's what they call spreading Scientology around, is clearing the planet. And she completely, and it's bizarre because she was a fantastic mother when I was growing up in England. Up to the age of 7, I have only good memories of her being extremely patient and loving. And all of a sudden, overnight, she was a different person.
Wow, how does that happen?
That's weird.
Well, I think some people are more susceptible to it than others.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a name for a mental condition of being more susceptible to it, but it was pretty scary, and that's an aspect of it. I understand how they
bipolar.
People. I was in it myself for 5 years working there, and I know how they get you in that frame of mind. I was in that frame of mind. It took me a long time to break free, but I'll never understand how a parent could kind of turn on and abandon their children.
I don't understand that, but it does happen. And
it happens in other aspects.
Right. And it just so happened and some people just get overwhelmed with life, and then that's just it. And for other reasons. So you just don't know, and maybe this would have happened inevitably, or there was maybe your mom was fragile to the point that something could have, but maybe she would have gone on, and had this not happened,
But they seem to prey on people when they're at their weakest. Like my mom, for example, her father had died. They get people in when they're going through something in life. Or like me growing up as a child in it, and so many of the abuses that have occurred with children growing up in it. We had no choice. We didn't get into it as adults. We were raised in it. We were told it's this or nothing, basically. Yeah. This is, salvation, and without this, you're nothing. We were told if we ever left, we'd be worthless. We wouldn't be able to even hold a job. We'd be, like, homeless, and we were told all kinds of horrible, scary things about the outside world that turn out to be completely untrue.
Right.
We weren't sent to school. I don't have beyond an education beyond the 4th grade, other than what I was able to accomplish after I left. But from the age of 14 to 19, I really didn't have any proper schooling. A month after my 15th birthday, they married me off to a 22-year-old man.
Really?
And then when I was 19, I got pregnant with my daughter. They told us we weren't allowed to have children. We had to have an abortion. They tried to force me to have an abortion.
Wow.
My mom was trying to convince me to have an abortion so that I could stay there and keep working, because they won't support your children, so they don't let you have children. I mean, these are the kinds of things that
how do you procreate? How does society procreate?
Well, yeah, I don't really get how they're, I don't.
Maybe once you get to the next level.
This is not for all Scientologists. Let me clarify. This is for the people who work in this thing called the Sea Organization.
And that's kind of like their ministry. Is that correct? Like
it is. You dedicate your whole life. You sign a billion-year contract.
Right, a million-year contract.
Yep. And what about sex? I mean, are they big into sex? There is no sex.
Well, I can't imagine.
When you're in the Sea Organization, there's no sex before marriage. There's no even really making out before marriage. My brother got sent to like a labor camp for about 2 years, where he wasn't allowed to speak to anyone, and he was kind of hidden away from everyone else because of that very reason. If you do anything beyond like kissing, if you're not married, you're sent to this thing called the Rehabilitation Project Force.
But they'd be killing me. I've been killed.
And even when you're married, they make you fill out this life history form, and they make you update it constantly, and you have to write out in detail every sexual experience you've ever had, including with your spouse. And, they have very weird ideas on sex. They consider that cancer is caused by being perverted. If you're a sexual deviant, that's why you got cancer. So you could have a person who's a perfectly good Scientologist. This happened to my dad. Had a friend who was really nice guy. He had 2 twin baby daughters. He got pancreatic cancer and died. And he was a Scientologist, all his friends were. And at the funeral, everyone's kind of whispering about how they never knew he was a pervert, but I guess he must have been, because he died of cancer.
Wow, and they believe this stuff.
They believe it, yeah.
Wow.